Heads of security intelligence agencies and chief of defense staff brainstorm on new strategies for enhanced national security.
Crucial talks between Senate's Finance Committee and key MDAs target economic resuscitation.
As states battle cholera, NCDC warns of more diseases this rainy season.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we will discuss local government autonomy.
Okay, so last week, Thursday, the Supreme Court gave judgment on local government autonomy, granting permission for funds standing to the credits of local government councils to be directly channeled to them from the Federation account as against joint accounts owned by both states and local government.
Now, this judgment is generating several debates. One of such is that of lacuna created between the decision and the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, we should say alleged lacuna. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde precisely raised the issue and cited Section 162, subsection 6 of the 1999 Constitution, and it's not the only one. Now, that section of the Constitution indicates, and I quote, that each state shall maintain a state joint local government account into which shall be paid all allocations to the local government councils of the state from the Federation account and also from the government of the state.
All right. Thank you, Claire Adelabu Abdurazak SEN.
Of course, I'm learned.
The judgment also placed an allocation freeze on councils run by caretaker committees.
And that is prompting states like Kebbi, Kogi, and about 20 others to set, well, some others to set timetables for council elections.
Now, some states are, however, still ignoring the Supreme Court judgment and have directed their caretaker committees to keep running local government areas in their states.
All right. Now, another twist in all of this is the demand by Association of Local Government of Nigeria, ALGON, for increased allocations to the 774 local governments. The reason? To enable them tackle challenges of grassroots development.
Should we say Oliver Twist?
Not really.
You get financial autonomy and you want more?
No, not really. Well, if you may.
Okay. Well, we begin a conversation. We actually began this conversation last week, Friday. Of course, if you're a regular on Good Morning Nigeria, which of course you should be. And some of the issues were discussed by our guests. We looked at the implications of the Supreme Court judgment. So today we'll continue the issues as regards this development. And another set of guests will be joining us this morning.
Precisely. Indeed, it was a robust conversation we had last week, Friday, and there were many issues. But the consensus of a larger majority of Nigerians is that this is coming, it's the right step in the right direction that the Supreme Court, had taken. And so many Nigerians are welcoming the judgment. But of course, there's always the other side to the coin. So, and that's why, again, on Good Morning Nigeria, we will be discussing the other side of the coin in the judgment on local government autonomy. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurazak. I join my sister. Have you introduced yourself? Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So I welcome you warmly to Wednesday's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. It's a rainy, wet Wednesday. And once again, please join us and get high only on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, I'm Henry John, and of course I join Claire to welcome you to the program. Of course, the newspaper review will be coming up shortly in the course of the program, but for now let's have the morning news. I've got the beautiful Mina Daniels right here. Mina, good morning to you.
I wanted to cook her, but let me just hold my thoughts.
Please
Mina?
hold it. Good morning, Claire and Ira. Hold it, and I can't wait for this very interesting discussion this morning. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the news. As directed by President Bola Tinubu, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has engaged heads of security and intelligence agencies to review operational strategies in the South-South to curb security threats and improve oil production.
Oil thefts and vandalism have become a major national issue. We do have line of sight around what must be done, what should be done. Mr. President has directed the CDS to ensure that we contain this within the shortest frame of time.
We're going to work together as a team. All the operations will be harmonized.
We need the cooperation of everybody. All agencies are collaborating. We need the cooperation of members of the public.
And in line with President Tinubu's administration's efforts to improve the nutritional status of Nigerians, the National Council on Nutrition has approved new measures to combat malnutrition and food insecurity in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima at his stakeholders meeting called for active and proactive participation from all involved.
It was a meeting whereby the Ministry of Health laid out the initiatives for tackling nutrition, the nutrition crisis, we all call it. And that, of course, involves working with expectant mothers and, of course, the children, particularly for the first 1,000 days of their lives.
The Senate Committee on Finance has met with heads of key ministries and agencies of government as it seeks for a more effective strategy to revamp the economy.
And we're very optimistic that by December this country will be net exporter. That means combination of production coming from us and also from the Dangote refinery and other smaller producing companies that we know are in line to do this.
I've come to realize that the easiest way for Nigeria to come out of its economic problems is through the oil and gas sector.
We have had negativities in the economy, and now we are trying to bring the positivities to work.
As the rains intensify, cholera cases are also increasing across the country, and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, is saying other epidemic-prone diseases such as yellow fever, Lassa fever, and meningitis are now being reported to be on the rise.
Some states may not be reporting because they feel it is stigma. Because if you say you have cholera in a state, they may not like it. But the fact is that if they don't report, they are endangering the lives of their people.
And the Rwandan President Paul Kagame wins fourth term in office in a landslide victory of 99.15% of the votes cast in Monday's presidential election. And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues shortly after the break with Claire and Iri.
The federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
Did you know that a quarter of the world's deaths from malaria is in Nigeria? And the reason being a mosquito that spreads malaria, a disease that puts everyone's life in distress. We believe that protection and prevention is the best cure in the fight to end malaria. Mortein insecticide with its improved formulation kills 100% mosquitoes that spread malaria. So, spread the message of how we can fight to end malaria with Mortein. Mortein, our #1 choice.
We're live in the open market market for Epic 10X Challenge.
My people, today now.
Today, I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible. Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively.
But Epic is thicker and sticks better,
which gives 10X better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow.
You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Each ethnicity is unique, we are more than the solution.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Thank you for staying with us. It's Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest TV network, and you can't beat our reach. Up next, newspaper review.
All right, so we've got our newspaper reviewer, Chekudi Okoli Ugbaja, with us this morning. Chekudi, good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, my dear Nyere. How are you doing?
Very well.
It's a bit cold out there,
Yeah.
But we thank God that we're still healthy.
Everything has its time and
season. Sure.
You know, and I know those who will be very happy at this moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course,
we
the farmers.
We know them. We know them.
By the way, is it the weather that's responsible for the calmness this morning?
You see, somebody told me the other time, Chukudi, have you talked to your doctor? You could actually be suffering from hyperactivity. So I'm trying to start reforming myself.
If it is hyperactivity, then we are good. We are good with it.
And I think that reform is necessary.
Worse. Claire, we came here to review newspapers.
If it's hyperactivity, we are good with it. Let's begin with the Punch. And this morning, the Punch front page is quite loaded. Quite loaded. So many things. I don't know. But let's take the lead story. The lead story is on local government autonomy, as expected. 13 states rush to hold council polls. And by the way, this story continues on page 2. But the riders come, says, Bauchi fixes LG poll for August 19. Kebbi election holds October 19. Jigawa, Imo, Anambra, Abia, Katsina, Kebbi, and Benue set for exercise. At least something is happening. And again, the protest in Kenya continues unabated, and the picture stories you see, and I almost, held my heart, but fortunately it's not in our country, it's in Kenya. 1 killed, journalist shot in Kenya, fresh protest, and some of the placards there, it's quite obvious what the protest is all about. But back home, the other story trending just at the foot of the paper. Court declines MFLA's request for foreign medical trip. It's on page 7. Court remands 98 in Benue prison for violent protests. It's on pages 4 and 5. And Ganduje spent 240 million naira state funds on personal lawsuits. That's according to Kano. You want to find out details of that on page 25. This story is according to this paper. Quickly, just a little, above the nameplate, you find minimum wage saga continues and Labour threatens 30-day strike, alleges plan to decentralize talks, and it's on page 17. Federal government warns 22 states of 5-day massive flooding. It's on page 28. And NNPCL meets military police to curb oil theft. Better late than never. That story is on page 7. Food security. Reps invite CDS minister over ungoverned spaces. Details of that on page 25. I hand over now to Yari.
All right, thank you, Claire. Let's quickly take a look at the Blueprint newspaper now. And the lead story here says, for maximum output, that's the kicker. It says, Tinubu orders CDS to end oil theft criminality in Niger Delta. The writer says, we're set to carry out the president's directive. And that's according to Musa. All right, away from that, quickly, we have this trending report on our universities. And the report here says, federal government has no plan to sell universities to private investors. The minister is credited right there, and page 7 has all the details. And of course, this is a worrying situation as regards cholera. NCDC records 3,623 cholera cases, 103 deaths in 34 states, including the FCT. Not a good one. You want to see what's going on and be sure that you're safe. Above the masthead, Senate frowns at delay in execution of $2.8 billion AKK gas pipelines. Page 6 has got that story. And of course, Kano crisis is still in the news. And this time around, we have Yusuf creates 3 second-class emirates to appoint new emirs. Government files fresh charges against Ganduje. Looks like Kano will continue to remain in the news as far as this is concerned. But let's just take a look at what the FAQ report is all about. The headline here says, federal government, states, local governments share 1.354 trillion naira in June. You want to find out what your state got and maybe your local government. All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper now. The Nation leads with CDS raises joint security force in renewed anti-oil theft battle. Of course, the riders has military chiefs and NPCL perfect strategy. Target is to meet oil production quota. All right, above the masthead, of course, the Kano story is also right here. So we'll move away from that. Tribunal orders NLNG to pay FIRS $27.5 million as 2016 revised tax. You wonder, 2016. Tribunal orders NLNG to pay FIRS $27.5 million as 2016 revised tax. Away from that, we have, of course, the story on the cholera. I need to take this so you can, of course, take caution. 103 dead, 3,623 cholera cases at the moment, according to NCDC. And we have, quickly now, at the bottom of the front page of the Nation newspaper, in a red strip, military land nationwide for cultivation to grow food items. You say that's the right step to take. All right, Chukudi.
Yes, the question you ask concerning the 13 states that are reportedly rushing to handle, council posts is they need to wait for the Supreme Court judgment, to do this. We have always frowned on a situation where the governors in the states are the lords of the manor in their different territories, and everything happens in accordance with their whim or caprice over a particular matter. It's a constitutional thing that local elections and local council elections happen when they should happen. I want to think that it is actually the threat to hold back funds from local governments that decide that caretaker committees are the best way to go that is prompting them to take action. Otherwise, ineptitude, tepiditude could still have,
It just tells you two things. When laws are enforced,
enforcement,
people comply.
Sure.
The second thing is that it will appear that those states or those chief executives were deliberate in delaying or withholding those, or not conducting.
They have always been deliberate about it.
Because whatever stopped them from conducting those elections until now, if the Supreme Court had not given this judgment, if it were maybe a court of lower jurisdiction, probably the wait will continue until...
of course, they would have escalated it to appeal, and eventually the Supreme Court would have ruled. I like the way the federal government went about it. That is what statesmanship is all about. Now, the federal government, remember, is run by the APC. But the judgment against holding on to the desire not to hold elections for the councils cut across party lines. So that's a statesman-like behavior. And that is what I keep on asking for. You know, in those days, newspapers would be so eloquent on he was a detribalized Nigerian. It meant something when a man or woman showed that tribe or religion it was not part of what determined how they acted, towards the world outside. So it's a noble behavior on the part of the federal government, because they know that they will hurt their own APC governors who were guilty of it or who are still guilty of it, even when the court ruled against them. So it is something we should all really applaud. Let them get to work.
Again, we're continuing, deliberations, discussions on this matter.
The local government autonomy.
Yes, of course.
So you'll get
we'll get
more chunk.
Yes, of it. But let's look at another story. Labour and 30-day strike alleges plan to decentralize.
The first
now, my concern is the 30-day strike.
So the first thing you say is, may it not happen. Because 3 days is debilitating. 3 days is crippling. You know, here in Nigeria, we tend to take a lot of things for granted. 1 day's strike runs into billions, if not up to 1 trillion naira, in terms of what you lose, both from the ministries, departments, and the agencies, as well as the OPS, the organized private sector. So a strike should be a last resort. I am not knocking the heads of labor leaders and all that over the matter. I'm just saying this is the implication of not working for even a few days, let alone what? 30 days. No,
okay, and you started by saying that we hope
we better work to preempt it.
Look at the crux of the matter, Henry. Ajero, that's the NLC president, says, as we are here, a joint committee of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the Judiciary are meeting. They have decided to remove Section 34 from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent list. And what this means, according to him, is that the state governors can't determine what to pay you, and so that there will be no minimum wage again. You cannot decide what you should earn.
There are two issues that are contending. First of all, a living wage should not be something to be determined by the state or local councils or federal government alone.
That's what he said.
That should be across the board.
That's what he said.
A living wage.
Okay,
Thereafter, The states, the councils, and the federal government are free to go above the benchmark. But a living wage, which is about not treating some people as subhuman.
A minimum wage.
Minimum wage, that's what we call it. You must establish that living wage that cuts across. Whether you're a school owner, whether you're... So that is the most important of all the things they are talking about. Thereafter, I will actually support a move to say that you do not put on the table a wage that must be paid by everybody in the country. When you have hit that benchmark that respects human dignity. That's my take on it.
Yes, listen, it says the very moment the House of Representatives and the Senate come up with such a law that will not benefit Nigerian workers, there will be their drivers and gatemen, and there will be no movement for 1 month. We cannot accept any situation where the governors and the National Assembly members will foist a slave wage on workers and force poverty on the citizens. Organized labor will not accept.
Yeah, that's a luta continua, language.
You see, our prayer, like Chukwudi said, and I'm sure every Nigerian is, please, those involved in these negotiations should find a way to avert a 30-day strike. Just 1 day now.
It doesn't make sense for us.
It doesn't make sense.
I just hope that that strike doesn't come to pass, and I hope that.
Do you know how much a loaf of bread is, Henry?
About 2,000. That's like the normal average kind of bread, but there's some above 2,000.
You know, the Chukwudi's kind of bread.
Exactly.
Which one is my kind of bread? The above 2,000 or the one below 2,000?
By the way, yesterday I found that Umudu of sugar that used to sell for 2,800 naira as of last week is going for 3,500 naira.
Everything is hitting the roof.
So, anyways,
the sky.
But there's a story that interests me. It's about federal government has no plan to sell universities to private investors. Like what they say, no smoke without fire. So we just hope that there are no plans in this direction. Like the minister has said, it's very important because, if we get our universities in private hands, it means that the poor, the civil servants can no longer send their children to, Nigerian universities because, it will be way out of reach. Look at what private universities are charging at the moment.
That would be the first impulse for thinking that they will price themselves out of their market. But the truth is that in business, it is cutthroat behavior for you to price yourself out of your market. So an equilibrium usually results at the end of the day. The point is this: what level of competition are you going to introduce so that one errant private investor does not think he can take his own to the top of the Himalayas and nothing happens? If there is enough competition, really, at the end of the day, you'll find out that you need to be within range of what is affordable, But we are far from that stage, as it were. Everything is lopsided at the moment.
All right. You have another story. I have this one. Federal government warns 22 states of 5-day massive flooding. NIMET, NISA, NEMA, have all come out to, sound this warning. This one is, I'm sure that...
The warnings...
they are becoming...
These June, July warnings are almost ineffectual. Well, please, it does well to let me know that floods are going to come. Please, let's not downplay the relevance of these agencies. But I've always said that preemptive action, one of the southwest states, is actually now working on canals and drainages, better than many other states are going about it.
No, Jigawa.
These are the things we should have done right from when the last rain stopped. You need to be ready. It is not just the government. Even the culverts were not clearing. The desilting we're not carrying out. It's part of the culpability that eventually percolates into disaster. So we should all work ahead of time.
Yes, working ahead of time. Please, let's just mention this cholera case. 103 dead already, despite warnings.
You narrowly missed becoming a medical doctor.
I'm just concerned because, these are lives. These are people's relatives. And this could have been avoided. Okay, so it's important to talk about it. And then
serious matter.
I remember about last month when this started, we were just talking about 2, 3 515. Now we're talking about 103. And the warning is that with the floods that are coming in, of course, there'll be more illnesses, and this cholera is going to escalate. So
and the need for people to, maintain good hygiene. I mean, that's basically the cause factor, the causative factor for cholera.
Yeah,
once you're surrounding and then you're not, you don't wash your hands. We've all stopped washing our hands as frequently as
exactly.
COVID
mandated us. The man who does not have a history of regular stomach ache is the man that washes his hands regularly.
All right, Chukwudi, we are told, of course, we don't have to be told, our time is up. And as always, we thank you for coming to give value, to these reports. Thank you, and have a good day.
You too.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Please don't go away. We promise you a robust conversation when we come back.
We're live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge. My people, today I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better,
which gives 10x better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow. You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
Bisola, how could you think that I'll be over you? I'm sorry for the pain, apologies are overdue. But hurting you, baby, is something I would never do. But don't think that I forgot about that wedding ring.
Name the most popular musician in Nigeria.
Ashake.
Did you just call Ashake's name? It's funny, Ashake.
I'm gonna swing on the chandelier. On the chandelier,
we're live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge. My people, today I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better,
which gives 10x better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow. You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, that, God has kept, together as one indivisible entity.
Join body with your football buddy GoTV for correct goals and action. Ha! Sharply reconnect on top GoTV Max with 7,200 naira to touchlight La Liga, Serie A, Europa, and select Premier League games live on top Super Sport. GoTV, love it.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. Let's take some excerpts from our first conversation on this issue, talking about local government autonomy, as compiled by our colleague Ibrahim Bello Gunda.
When monies are allocated to local governments, they are moved to the private accounts of the treasurer,
And then from the treasurer, they are moved to the local government ministry for onward transmission to whoever, you know. But my worry, my concern is that in granting them this effective autonomy, if you so want, we should not go back to the era when teachers are not paid and primary healthcare workers are not paid.
That's definitely there will still be need for constitutional alteration to streamline the position with what the Supreme Court has said. Because technically speaking, Section 16, the import of the Supreme Court decision yesterday has nullified Section 162 sub 6.
When they are given this money, they should be able to use it judiciously and be transparent with it, so that at the end of the day, the purpose of which this government is granted is not defeated.
In some states you have 2 years, in some states you have 3 years as a tenure for local government chairman or councillor. For God's sake, if you elect me for 2 years, the first year is for what? And then the second year is for election. So what am I going to deliver? In FCT, we've been, able to secure for the FCT area councils 4-year tenure.
Just like Lagos.
Yes, 4-year tenure. While we were in, as outgoing chairman, we had to go up and down, lobbying the National Assembly to secure additional 1 year for chairman. We are not beneficiaries of the 4-year tenure, but successive administration will now, starting from this council chairman, they are going to operate a 4-year tenure. That shows you that local councils now will have a way of determining how to support and provide dividends of democracy for their people.
All right, that was an excerpt of our conversation on the Supreme Court's judgment on the local government autonomy last week, Friday, and we thank Ibrahim Belogunda for compiling the excerpts for us. As we continue the conversation this morning and presently, let me quickly introduce our long-standing guest on this program. Good Morning Nigeria. He's been with us right from the inception about 10 years ago. Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst. Jide, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
For being consistent and for being one of our loyal partners.
It's national interest, national work, national assignment.
Thank you. Enrique.
All right, so we also have joining us for the conversation Abubakar Ahmed Tanimu, a legal practitioner. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Always a delight being here.
All right, also joining us for the conversation. Okay, I'm sure that guest will join us once the connection is clear, and of course you get to meet the guest. So let's get into the conversation now.
Okay, so gentlemen, I really want to welcome you, Tanimu. It's good to see you once again. Now, we've started a conversation. Judy, thank God you were here with us last week. And the consensus on what has happened, that's the judgment of the Supreme Court, is that, it could be a good step in the right direction. And a lot of, many Nigerians, I should say, have applauded the decision. But there are also some who have some reservations about that. And they point at a particular section of the Constitution. And then my first question in that regard will be, in view of the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended, is the judgment of the Supreme Court on local government autonomy, is it in any way a contradiction of the provisions of separation of power and of federalism? Let me start with Tanimu.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very important question, and when the judgment was given, a lot of people were celebrating, but for those of us that were in the legal profession, we said they should at least have a glance and go through what the judgment actually stipulates, and to make it as brief as possible, it's talking about financial autonomy. And the reality is that in interpreting every section of the Constitution, it's not done in isolation. It's done in a context. You look at each section as it relates to the other sections of the Constitution. And you see, the truth of the matter is that any action that you present before the court is the responsibility of the court to determine such kind of action that you have filed in court. If you approach the court and you say, for all intent and purposes, you want to declare that I'm a woman, and you have filed all the necessary processes, they will accept your filings and they will make pronouncement that, as far as they are concerned, I'm not a woman. So what has happened, I want to take us down to memory lane. If you all recall, before now, the president, the past regime of Muhammad Buhari made Executive Order 10. We all celebrated in similitude that local governments will have autonomy, and nothing came out of it. And now they've gone to court. The Supreme Court have given its judgment. The fact is that we are trying to put the cart before the horse. What obtains in the various local government will not change. The problem ever since has not been that funds are not being channeled to the local government. They have, by the operation of Section 162 joint accounts, whereby you have the state and the local government having a commissioner of local government and chieftaincy affairs and the rest, and they operate. But you see, we are now looking at it from one context. You equally have other provisions of the constitution. If you look at federalism in its context, it varies from clime to clime. In some other jurisdictions, you have the states and the local government. That's the federal, that's the center, and the local government. Whereas in others, you have the center and the state. In Nigerian context, what we have in the constitution is the federal and the state section.
But the context of federalism in the U.S., I mean, where we, you know, you also have other tiers.
Sure.
Yes, you have the division between the federal and state government, but you have other tiers of government that are also recognized by the various constitutions, which is similar to what we are practicing.
Okay, so
our constitution recognizes the place of the third tier of government.
If you say recognize, now let's look at it in terms of context. If you look at the federal, we have the National Assembly. If you look at the state, you have the State Assembly, the provision of the president, who should be the president, how the president will be elected, who should be the governor, how the governor will be elected. Their tenure is guaranteed. They have 2 terms of 4 years each. For the local government, at best what we have is that they are mentioned, all the 700 at the footnote, all the 700.
But they equally have a legislative arm.
They do.
The councillors.
But you see, the context.
It's because of their inability to rise up to their responsibility.
No, they cannot. So now let me tell you the reality. Because you now have states, at the various state level, you have state electoral commission, which the constitution equally recognizes that states have the power to create state electoral commission, and they conduct election. I want to assure you that no state in Nigeria conducts free and fair election at the local government. While this debate is ongoing, Adamawa State did the election, 99.9% victory was returned to the government in power, that's PDP. They only lost a single, they just gave out that one so that there will be a semblance of an election process. If you have a local government chairman that is being imposed by the governor, no matter the electoral, no matter the financial independency, pronouncement of court and everything, it will still go back to the same process.
So what's what's your evaluation of the judgment? The judgment is in sync, but
the implementation in reality will not know anything will be achieved.
Okay.
If judiciary, at best, what we can do is to share, is to be the paragon. Now we are now telling the public, the National Assembly, the various states of assembly, they now need to amend the constitution.
We will get to that. Yes.
You know, in reaction to what you have said and what some people have, said as regards this judgment, they think that it's against what the Constitution says. And I'm just going to quote the former governor of Delta State that said, that's James Ibori. He said that the Supreme Court judgment granting full autonomy to the local government operations in Nigeria is against the 1999 Constitution as amended. And he's quoting Section 162, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution, which says that funds in the Federation account should be distributed among federal, state, and local governments in a manner prescribed by the National Assembly. And then in Section 6, which states that each state should maintain a state joint local government account to receive allocations from the Federation account and the state government. Now, his argument is that the Supreme Court ruling undermines true federalism and allows the federal government to interfere with local government administration. Do you take his position on this matter, Jide Ojo?
Thank you, Lyra.
Everybody is entitled to their opinion on this matter. I've also listened to former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, who said, oh, this is not going to achieve anything. You can't take a baby from the mother. So who is the mother? The governor. Who is the baby? It's the local government. Chairman. So, see, what people are saying is not law, it's practice. What my brother is saying is not law, it's practice. That the position of law, the Supreme Court has given its own interpretation. My governor in Oyo State has set up a committee to review the Supreme Court decision.
Yes.
And gave a marching order of 4 to 6 weeks to the Attorney General and the committee members to review the Supreme Court decision.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court's decision is
the final.
Is the final.
So, if you are going to sit and review what the final court in the land has said, it shows you that some people just don't want a change. Incidentally, this is an issue I weighed in on in my column in the Punch of today. Apologies to mention this because it's a burning issue. I happen to have been a product of a primary school that was established by local government, Ibadan City Council. IMG Primary School, Mokola Ibadan, Ibadan Municipal Government. How many of such exist today? I don't believe what the Supreme Court has done is antithetical to principle of separation of powers, checks and balances, or even in terms of federalism. When people quote Professor Casey Weir classical definition of federalism, that is sharing of power between the center and the federating unit, and they talk about 2 centers of power. Yes, if that's the way you want to go, is it today that local government start to exist? Local government has been in existence since the First Republic. Why didn't the framers of the Constitution said, don't even mention local government in the Constitution? Even my own newspaper, The Punch yesterday wrote an editorial where he disagreed with the Supreme Court. It's within the right of the newspaper, is their editorial, that the Supreme Court erred. And they were quoting the same classical definition of federalism. That's the same way Afenifere was quoting Supreme Court, classical definition of federalism, power between center and federating unit.
Yes.
So if we know, as a country, since First Republic, that we don't need a third tier of government, why have successive administration kept quiet and allowed the existence of this local government? Why have they not deemed it fit? We have had 1960 Constitution, 1963 Constitution, 1979 Constitution, 1999 Constitution. Yet, local government continues to feature. And all the eggers, legal luminaries, and political scientists of this country, they don't deem it fit to say, look, what you are doing is antithetical to the principle, classical definition of federalism. I don't think, and I'm of the school of thought that every country has its own unique way of doing things, of administering its own country. When Rocha Sokorocha, former governor of Imo State, when he assumed power, he decided to devolve power beyond local government and decided to have a 4th tier of government in Imo State. That was his own idea. There are 2 pathways to this. It's either we want to scrap, and I've written column on this. I said, look, it's either we want to scrap local government entirely, remove every shred of local government function, structure, composition, everything, remove it from the Constitution, make it the local affairs of the governor. If a governor decides to go and establish 500 LCDA, so be it, if it has funding. But situations where we currently have, and we need to understand why the president intervened. The local government funds gets into the joint states local government account and are redistributed to fund LCDAs that were established which were not recognized by the Constitution. They routinely dissolve State Independent Electoral Commission, refuse blatantly to guarantee and grant State Independent Electoral Commission financial and administrative autonomy. Now everybody is clamoring. This place where we were on Friday, people are saying, oh, let INEC take over the conduct of local government election. Is that in sync with the principle of federalism?
Jude, let's put you on hold at that point. Thank you. That's a question you've raised. Festus Oguche, another of our very valued contributor on Good Morning Nigeria, joins us via Zoom, and he's a constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst. Mr. Oguche, I haven't seen you on the screen. Yes, thank you. Mr. Guche, thank you very much for joining us. We are glad you were able to make it. And the issues that are emanating from our conversation this morning, first is we know that the judgment, as you lawyers would say, the Supreme Court, relies on that principle that you people call stare decisis. I don't know how you call it, decisis. And then, of course, arising from that, your judgment is what you call res judicata. It's final. No one can reverse it. The Supreme Court cannot reverse itself. So this judgment has come to stay. Let us look at its implementation, which is where my brother here, Abubakar Ahmed Tanimu, and a lot other people are talking about. Do you think, or what do you think would happen? Might there be an invocation of the doctrine of necessity to implement?
The thing is that the Supreme Court has exerted itself very positively in the area of ensuring independence and autonomy for the local governments. That's one area of judicial activism. That's what we call it, which relates to filling the gap, not only filling the gap, but taking hold of the policy of running or administration of local governments, the manner that to ensure its effectiveness and its efficiency. It's simply judicial activism. I don't know where res judicata come in, or this other one that you said, stare decisis, it doesn't come in anywhere. The Supreme Court is a court of policy, being that it is not just there to interpret the laws, but also to formulate policy, to give direction to certain government directives and principles to ensure that systems do not run amok or they do not go comatose, in the sense that also people are allowed to exercise their power in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Section 7 of the Constitution is very clear on that the system of a democratically elected local government is hereby under this Constitution guaranteed. That is what it should be, that there must always be a democratized local government system at all times at that level of government. Let us remind ourselves that it doesn't make the local government a tier of government, because the Supreme Court has not even stated so, and the Constitution still looks at it as existing local governments, as existing within the state frameworks. But be that as it may, it's a step in the right direction, but it leaves with us with a whole lot of gaps and inadequacies here and there that I think it will be very difficult for us to fill if we are not to do things relating to amendments of the Constitution, if you are not to do anything relating to certain structural adjustments that will accommodate that judgment. The judgment is like a bolt in the sky to wedge itself into a particular situation to create something that is similar to a situation of reasonableness, a situation of certainty in the local government system. The implementation of that judgment will not be a very easy thing because there are, like I said, there are certain areas that the Supreme Court had not taken a very good look at, and probably to have taken its time to wade into those areas and see what it can do. Except maybe we have to return to the Supreme Court, and that's in the area of the existence of the Local Government Service Commission, which is directly under the state structure, the existence of the State Independent Electoral Commission, which is directly under the state structure. It's governors that appoint. And people have been suggesting, for instance, that these things be made as part of the federal administrative agencies. But that is like transferring this loyalty from the governors to Abuja. And we know what Abuja politicians can do with it. So to ensure that the judgment is given the proper place it deserves within the annals of our administrative system, I think what is important is to ensure that the local governments are given full autonomy. And this the Supreme Court had not given them. It's only in the area of allocation of resources, of transfer of money and all that. And if you leave that alone and still leave the local governments under the canopy of the electoral values of the state structure, that is in the State Independent Electoral Commission, then of course, it's just like the same thing. Nothing had happened by that judgment. So if you leave it under the civil service structure of the state in the Local Government Service Commission being run by states, of course, they are still under, the governor decides who gets there, who gets what, and for what reason. If you misbehave, you'll never get there. Because the electoral system is under the whims and caprices, in fact, in the pockets of the governors. The civil service is in the pockets of the governors. If you transfer these vital institutions to Abuja and say, then we are now bringing the local government system under the whims and caprices of Abuja politicians. So what do? The proper way to go about it is either through legislation, form entities, establishments that will make the running of these local government systems possible and make them directly operational under the local governments themselves. Then, of course, Section 7 is that the House of Assembly of the state to make laws for the composition, for the running administration of local government systems. So you see that the local government is still ensconced, or rather subjected to these state structures. But then if you are trying to give it some tiership, like local government is a tier of government, okay, then what should be done is to follow that judgment. And if you see areas that cannot be implemented, being a decision of the highest court in the land, a decision of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, then all things must be done legislatively, administratively, structurally, to ensure that the local government have full and independent status to be able to run their own affairs. Else this judgment, as far as I see it, will just be like a vicious cycle. It has created a vicious cycle of insuperabilities where the states will have one area of controlling the local government, and the federal will have another area of controlling the local government, and the local government is trapped in the middle, being drawn this way and being drawn that way by both the state and the federal government. That's my position. Thank you.
Pastor Guche, thank you. We quite understand the issues that you are raising, the challenges or probably areas that might be tackled further. But I'd like you to clarify for us your earlier comment about, the quality of the judgment. I mean, you don't believe that this is, in terms of the autonomy, granting of autonomy to local government, you don't believe that this is probably a closed, statement. I mean, you cannot reverse this judgment. It has come to stay. And secondly, you talked about democratizing, the system. What is the place? Or explain that in relation to the place, the role and function of the local government council areas, and is granting them this autonomy not part of that democratized system?
Yes, the Supreme Court has taken a very bold step. Like I said, it's one that is very commendable. It has now gotten to a situation where you see the local government almost going comatose without funds, salaries, without they're only there to pay salaries and give the remainder to the governors, and this has been running for quite some time. A very unfortunate situation. It is simply because we do not have respect for our constitution. If not, when people go against the provisions of the constitution and begin to do things anyway, anyhow, contrary to the constitution, they must pay for it. Our judicial system is not strengthened enough to do that. And most people know very well that what they are doing is wrong, but they'll tell you to go to court. People that say that should be serving jail sentences. For years, it has been a system of caretakership. It has been a system of arbitrariness. It has been a system of subsuming the local government system as an appendage of government house of the states. It's like the local government do not even exist in most of the local government areas in Nigeria. If you go there, you only see the political appointees, the chairman and the councillors at the end of the month when allocations are made and there's money to be shared. You know, the governor takes his own part, the rest of them goes into the pocket, so that you don't see much development at that level of governance, not much development. And that's the most important level of governance, no matter how you look at it, because it is directly connected with the people. The connection is so strong that to some people, they do not even know that the states and the federal government, they exist. Of course, by our electoral conduct, we see there's a disconnect. There's no nexus between the government and the people, particularly those in the rural areas. They only look up to local government, and that's the only aspect of governance that they know. But now the Supreme Court has taken a very good look at it and seen all the constitutional infractions that follow. And they have a responsibility by virtue of their supremacy and by virtue of the fact that the law must be observed at all times to wade in. And they have done it so brilliantly well, very beautifully well. Though, like I said, there are so many gaps and inadequacies in that decision that will require more interventions, but well, that can be done structurally or legislatively. And I think what happens is that the National Assembly should wake up to that reality and push forward to better reforms, more reforms within the local government system, and see how certain amendments can be done to the Constitution, you know, those of them that are contrary to the decision of the court. Though I know that where there are gaps in the Constitution, it is not the court that should fill it. Where there's an omission or where there's any defection, it's a legislative matter. But the Constitution has come in and nobody can challenge it, and they've done it very, very well. And they did it in the mold of preserving the constitutional framework and ensuring that people abide by its provisions. So I think that's a very good step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. And some of the constraints that we see in the course of implementing the judgment must be removed as a matter of judicial imperative, as a matter of legislative imperative, as a matter of an executive imperative, because the Supreme Court of Nigeria cannot make a decision in vain. That decision must be given force, must be given viscosity to stand the test of time.
Thank you very much, Barrister Oguche. You made mention of payment of salaries as being the only thing that local government do, you know, at the moment. And of course, like you said, hand over what is left to the governors. And that same issue is the concerns, one of the concerns being raised by some governors. The governor of Akwa Ibom State, for example, has come out to say, well, he supports the judgment of the Supreme Court, but that the local government should continue to pay salaries, because the challenge they used to have before, you know, state governors, you know, came into the whole mix was the fact that local governments were owing salaries. Now, I want you to weigh in on that, you know, as regards some of these concerns about if the local governments would still be able to do the needful now with this judgment and without supervision from the governors. And then there's this, insinuation about the fact that this judgment may not be implemented until after a 90-day window. I want you to speak around that and then about the concerns by the Akwa Ibom State Governor.
Thank you very much. So, in line with what you said, that I think he did not get you clearly, you said it is res judicata. The Supreme Court is the apex court. Any decision by decision is a finality. You are not ordinarily supposed to appeal the decision of the Supreme Court. So you are right in that regard. The matter is settled.
It's
now, in
cost-ended.
reality, can it be implemented? Issue of salaries. What we all know what obtains in all the local government. I have friends that are local government chairmen. They don't do anything apart from what they are being dictated upon. Why do you, the most juiciest commissioner in the whole states is the commissioner of chieftaincy
Local
and
government
local
and
government
chieftaincy.
affairs. Why? Because they are controlling all the resources that the constitution said states should have joint account. Some states have gone ahead to create local government development authorities. They cannot get the National Assembly to recognize them as a local government, that the name will be mentioned in the constitution. So, and based on what we have now, it means allocation will not be given to those local government, local area, local development association, or what they call them. It is from the other local government that are receiving funding that they will now channel it to fund. So basically, local government are not doing anything. They cannot pay salary. Those allocation, they are going to be, even before the judgment, all local governments have been receiving their allocation. But it is the process that the money gets to them. Most local government chairmen, they don't even control up to 5 million naira per month. Yes, I'm telling you that once they take that, the rest resources will be channeled to that joint account where they all have representative, and they act based on the dictate of the governor, and the governor will simply tell them, these are the contractors to pay, these are the things they are. So how can they pay salary when they are not the one that in reality responsible? Either you have a bloated civil servant, every political for patronage, you have people that have never even been to the local government. They are here in Abuja, their names are in the register, is bloated. When you want to do a head count, you discover that half of the personnel, they are not even, you see a single, me, I've witnessed it, I've seen a single person taking the salary of more than 30 people in a local government. It happens in all the local government of the federation. So how can you, as a local government chairman, when you know that you are being imposed by the governor, if you do not follow that, if it's a list, they will just say, okay, from this council, from this area, from this, they have a list. This, we have a clear, as we are saying, do a recall of all the elections that have been conducted. The state, the party in power, if it is APC, if it is PDP, they will win 99.9%. Most instances, they only leave 2 councils, maybe 1 or 2 for the other parties, but they return, and you know, as a local government chairman, you are being imposed by the government. So you do the bidding. They will sign on their, they don't need any, you have given him power, but they will reject the power. Oh, we don't need. When, if you look at historically, when attempts were made to amend the constitution, this same, I don't want to mention the state, but this same law to amend the constitution that will grant full autonomy, because we now realize that the local government is one of the most important tiers of government that will really trickle down the dividends of democracy to the people. They sent a law for amendment to the various states' houses of assembly. They unanimously rejected that. We don't want autonomy for our law. So I'm telling you that if you even try to make the amendment, majority of the various state houses of assembly, they will willingly, because they are being dictated upon by the governor that they don't want, or they want it the way it is. So you see that they just make a mockery of the judgments that we have.
Just to add to what you have also said, the state houses of assembly are also mandated to carry out oversight.
They don't. They are just they are just not rubber stamp this time, exactly. Not rubber stamp, but now they are the thumbprint of the
But
governor.
with this judgment, will all of this change?
Nothing will change.
No, so
what we need is proper constitutional amendment, whereby we will clearly spell out, okay, this is a local government, is a third tier. We need to fashion out our own model of democracy. We want local government to be a third tier of our federative
amendment
unit.
of what section? Because
we have
can't just
all
call
the conflicting sections. For example, we don't want state governors to be conducting election. If you have house of even the state houses of assembly, it's INEC at the national level that conducted the election, and nobody is complaining that is an affront on federalism. You have the Federal House of Rep members.
But regardless, they are still submissive to their state executives.
If you take a recall of 1999, that is the only time for those that we have a semblance of independence of local government, because you have people from different parties that were returned. Even those that are from the same party, they were able to stand their ground. They stood their ground. They said they want to implement some of them. But after 1999, because of the way and manner they are being returned to office, you can never, no matter how you frame the ruling and you give it all the coloration, it is the chairman now by their hands willingly with the state, they have their own legislative, but they will willingly sign whatever the governor dictates to them. So we know the reality. I thought maybe a local government chairman would be here. Maybe he's afraid, but he will confirm to you. This is what I'm some sure do not even get up to 5 million in a month.
I'm sure that the federal government that started this first leg, that took this first leg, you understands this lacuna, that we're all raising at the moment, and that's why we're having this conversation. But Jide, now the question is capacity of the local administrators, to implement, to act, to rise up to their responsibilities. And I'm asking, under the existing structure where you have CX conducting elections at that level, can the local administrators have the capacity to still perform and rise up to their bidding?
Yes and no. What obtains now is, let me take it from the issue of State Independent Electoral Commission. When in 2007, August, former President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua set up Justice Umaru Uwe's Electoral Reform Committee. They sat for 16 months, submitted their report in December 2008, and the President accepted and forwarded some amendments to the National Assembly. That was when INEC started to enjoy financial and administrative autonomy from 2011 election going forward. Remember, INEC before 2011 was, even if you say you are a staff of INEC, people will nearly stone you because they just said people will write results and all of that. So the shenanigans you see playing out in the SEC was what we were. But from 2010, when Professor Ataru Jaga was appointed, meanwhile, Professor Ataru Jaga was also a member of the Justice Uwe's committee. So it was apt for President Goodluck Jonathan to have appointed somebody who is from that 22 member to now be the chairman of INEC. He got financial autonomy because of the constitutional alteration. So INEC started to enjoy financial and administrative autonomy from 2010. And that's why you have seen our elections progressively getting better. But as at that time, Justice Uwe's committee asked that SEC should be scrapped and integrated into INEC. But the governor said, no, you cannot in one breath talk about federalism and you are centralizing the Electoral Commission. That they made a commitment to also strengthen State Independent Electoral Commission, but they never did. So what CX lack as of today is both administrative and financial autonomy. And that's why it's very easy for the governor to dictate to them who he wants to win or to lose. But that's one leg of the question. Even if you have the best brains being elected into local government, with the booby trap that's already on ground, can they perform? My brother Oguche was talking about local government service commission, who recruits staff for local government. It's the state government that recruits secretary to the local government, recruits key staff of the local government. It's not even the chairman of the local government that recruits those staff that is going to work with. And Tanimo has just told you the reality that obtains where they have a bloated service. Half of the staff are ghost workers and they don't come to work. Of course, what would they come to work to do? The money meant, and this is part of the problem, apart from the fact that the state government have a chokehold on the administration, the key administration of local government, because of the kind of appointment it makes, secretary, auditor, accountant, all all the key functionaries of local government are state appointees that are posted to work in local government. Then you also have the godfathers, the traditional rulers, the opinion molders, the people that you won't even see their name on the internet, but they wield a lot of influence. And whatever they say goes. If you decide to go against their wish, all they will do is to instigate state house. The governor will just tell the state house of assembly, who is oversighting the local government, to suspend the chairman or councillor. And that is done. Because you also have a state house of assembly that is pliant, that is docile, that is susceptible to the whims and caprices of the governor. So that is another double jeopardy. Even if you have the best brain, professors, administrators with years of experience, when you work in that kind of toxic environment where people dictate to you, because they know your house, they know your family house, they know you are from that local government. So if you try to be stubborn, they go and meet your parents and tell your son, if he wants to get out of that place alive, he should do this, he should do that.
So what can be done now? What can be done to make it work? Because this judgment has to work.
Now, it will work in the sense that we now start to oversight. Media and civil society must start to oversight.
Even with the present structure, where you still have the SIEC conducting the elections.
How many people go to...
And the State House of Assembly...
How many people go to observe SIEC elections?
Because they know it's a challenge.
It's a challenge. No, and there are too many. Okay, over the weekend, we have Adamawa and Delta.
99.9%.
How many civil society were accredited to observe that election? How many media even went to report on that election? But it goes beyond that. Let me land on this. Then you have a huge challenge with the fact that these LCDAs that have been created arbitrarily, in my own opinion, the government of the state that created them does not have funding for them. They are like institutions, tertiary institutions that were established by the state. And all the state government does is to pay salaries, and they depend on TED fund for the capital intervention. So you want to build new libraries and theater halls and hostels, is TED fund, you wait to come and fund that. All the state government does, in most cases, whether it's colleges of education, polytechnics or university, is that they wait on TED fund. And that's the same way it is. When you now wait, and by the way, when we say there is no fund in local government, first and foremost, most of the functions of local government have been hijacked by the state. You know, the fourth schedule of the Constitution highlighted all the functions of local government. Control of parks, signages, radio and television licensing, management of abattoirs, and several others. They were listed there. But most of those functions are taken over by the state government. So little or no IGR is coming to local government. And by the way, by the interpretation of Section 162, state government is supposed to also come with its own funding
into the joint account.
Into the joint account.
Okay,
not just
Jide, thank
that
you.
The federation account is the only source of funding for
Jide, thank
government.
you. Let's Barrister Guche also weighed in here. I don't know. Tanimu and Jide seem to be, speaking from the same point of view. Guche, I don't know. Do you think that this judgment can work with the existing structure where you have SIEC still conducting elections at the grassroots or for the local government officials, and where also the state government, the state houses of assembly are also oversighting the local government? Will this judgment work? Will we really achieve the objectives, for granting the local government autonomy to this, system? I don't want to use tier. You said there's no tier of government to the local government area.
Thank you very much. First of all, we look at the judgment as a life First of all, we look at the judgment as a life-saving mechanism for the local governments to save the life of a dwindling entity. The local government has not just been relegated. For a long time been related operational framework that it appears the local government has no business running the affairs of government because other governments are there, other levels of government, the House of Assembly of the government of the state affairs. Mr. Jide there in the studio had recounted in graphic terms the problems that associate with local government system, but there is use of power, usurpation of functions, both at the state level and level as well. The system is totally of the Constitution. And that is why I feel pained that people do all those things for all those years and nobody has gone to jail for it. People who defy the Constitution, they defy the law also. The Constitution is the basic law, and that should face them is a jail sentence. I don't know what we have to do with the judicial system to strengthen it in such manner that people who do it, including state executives who can start trial at the end of their tenure for infiltrating into the local government system, creating caretaker committees, abusing the Constitution in that manner. The issue of the state independent electoral commission is rooted in the fact of the desperation of our political class. They want to have control over everything. And in the manner it is, you cannot see an effective running of the local government in spite of the Supreme Court pronouncement if you don't take care of that angle. Because at the end of the day, it is the governors that decide who gets what, who gets into what position, and control them. So it's the same garbage in and garbage out. That is very, very wrong. What should be done at this level is to give viability to the local governments. They can viably stand on their own. That is where the greater numerical strength of Nigerians are. The greater population, the greater demography of Nigerians are in the local governments. And that's one fact we must accept, that it is not just creating functions for the local government, it should be made a full tier of government. Like I told you, it is not been made a tier. And even create legislative lists for it under the Constitution. We don't have a residual list, and that's why we have the governors, the governments of state and federal government clashing over VAT, over the power to administer local governments and all that. There should be a residual list for the states and a list for the local government so that these demarcations and distinctions will be very, very clear. That is why I said that there is an imperative for legislative intervention to ensure that the local government structure are allowed to operate in the implement the judgment of the Supreme Court. For instance, if you take the function of conducting elections to INEC, to what extent has INEC conducted elections properly? My friend Jide there talked about the Justice Uwe's commission reports on electoral reform. So we are not implementing any aspect of it yet because it is the very viable path to electoral credibility, and people do not want it because they want to use shortcuts and very illegal and unlawful to get to positions of power. So if you give it to the Abuja, if you give it to INEC, it's like giving the power which was erstwhile formerly
All right, looks like we have an issue with the connection with Barrister Oguche. We hope we can fix that and, of course, get to hear more of what he has to say. But let's get back here in the studio and, like Abubakar Ahmed Tanumu, to react to some of the decisions taken by governors so far. We've seen governments coming out, state governments coming out now to schedule local government elections. Just over the weekend, we had 2 local government elections which held. 13 will be held, very soon. Now, would you say that all of this is just going to be effort in futility, looking at what you have said as regards what the local government chairman will eventually do, even when they are elected, into office? And then, from this reaction by some governments, would you say that we will just likely see a change from what we used to see?
Yes, we will see a change in one leg, in the sense that local government governors will not be dissolving local government council at will. Before now, you can just have an election today and a new governor comes up, or the governor will not be happy with those fine for no reason. He will just dissolve, appoint caretaker committee. Based on this judgment now, they will not be funded. So no governor will want his fund to be withheld. So naturally, which Adamawa State have just done, as I said, 99.9% PDP, since they and the government in power, they return victorious. So is it that can it even be possible that in a state everybody will just tilt to a particular? It happens in all the other states. If you go to Kaduna, if you go to Kano, if you go to at the moment we have about 22 states that for no reason you see states. Even so, it pains me that some of those protagonists of democratic ideas, they were once governors and they ruled for as long as 8 years. They refused to even conduct the sham election that we are all already used to. Because I assure you, everybody knows that elections are not being conducted. How can you conduct election if you are a state electoral commission and you will not be funded for the entire 4 to 3 years, maybe some weeks or months to election? The governor will simply call in, fund you and tell you, these are my lists, and you see that it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Despite the list, like what we're seeing with governors and their predecessors, we're seeing governors who have come into power and saying no to whatever agreement they have signed with their predecessors who got them into office. Don't you see that happening in the local government?
No, you cannot have that in the local government. As Jide pointed out, in the local government, somebody will tell you, will give you your whole history, your parents, your uncles, your relatives, and tell you have to do it this way. If you do not do it this way, they will be the same person to go and instigate either land issue, communal violence, and the state houses of assembly they are the fingerprints of the governor, not rubber stamp this and they will simply either dissolve the local government, suspend the chairman for investigation, and before you know it, you are gone.
Okay, Tanimu, I understand the issue you're raising with Adamawa, but it is not unlikely that a particular party, will win with a landslide. If that party is popular and it's, doing the work of the people. So it's not unlikely. But regardless of how and what manner, people get into office, what is most important is whether they would have the effrontery, and capacity to withhold funds now from their chief executive, except of course they are like some governors we know in some states that have shown that effrontery and capacity to challenge their SY chief executives. Now, so, and in that manner I will ask, because the position of government now, the posture that the government is giving us now is like, look, it must work. There must be a change. We must have good governance at the local level, because all the indices of poverty, all the indices of our humanitarian needs are coming from the grassroots. So what measures or mechanism can be put in place to ensure accountability and transparency on the part of our local administrators? And I'll allow you to answer this when we come back. We're calling for a short break. This is Good Morning Nigeria. Please stay with us. I'm sure you'll want to hear what Tanimu and the rest of our guests would like to say regarding measures. Don't go away.
The federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
Meet lovebirds Jayola and Adama Davies. Their dream of living together as man and wife has finally been fulfilled.
The latest couple in town, Mr. and Mrs. Jaye Davis!
But an invasion by their troublesome families was not a scenario they bargained for. Her mother moves in. His mother shows up with his little niece. Then her younger sister joins the scramble.
You want to stay?
Married life suddenly becomes very complicated even before it started. Follow their story on this channel as they confront every challenge as it comes. Family forever, the story of our lives.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
All right, welcome back. And just before we went on break, Tanimo, I was asking, regardless of whether local government chairmen were elected, appointed, selected, or by whom and all that, what can be done to ensure that the funds that will now come into their account, is judiciously used rather than pass through the labyrinth, through the pipeline and back to status quo?
What should be done is very simple, and we all know what should be done. The Constitution needs serious amendment. The various state houses of assembly that their inputs are required, they are incapacitated by the overbearing influence of their governors. So it's like the governors are strangulating the process. So for me, if I were to be the president or in the presidency, they should make a deliberate effort whereby conflicting areas as identified by a lot of Nigerians in the Constitution. Because I said you don't take a single part of the Constitution, you have to look at it in a holistic context. Like in this context now, any part of the Constitution that will negate the concept of absolute autonomy to local governments to function properly should be identified. Then the mechanism for amending the Constitution, it should be done swiftly. With the Jet 8, we're in the Jet 8 era, there's nothing stopping the entire 36 state houses of assembly simultaneously. So that all the amendments that we've been clamoring for, there are some that majority of Nigeria were all in agreement. But the question is, why is it not being amended? For example, if you ask the governor now, do you want autonomy for your local government? He will tell you yes. If you ask the person from the local government down to the masses at the local government, we all want a local government. If you ask the state house assembly member, you ask him, he will tell you yes. But when it comes to the reality of voting for it, then you get a different result. So let's have issue of now amending our constitution. Are
we asking the same people that are complicit?
Yes, and they will tell you they even want
carry out the amendment.
Yes, so now that is why we need to now go further in amending our constitution. There's one element of constitutional amendment that is lacking in our constitution. We should have the issue of, we should have a particular portion in our constitution whereby issues of this nature should be done by referendum, whereby the entire Nigerians will all go out. INEC should be able to conduct a yes or no voting. And all these issues now will not be itemized. Do you want state electoral commission to exist and to conduct election for the various states, yes or no? Do you want the local government chairman to be appointed for 8 years or 7 years tenure, renewable tenure? We all now can identify the issues that needs amendment. We now know, for now, if we want to have continuous amendment of the constitution on issues of such as this to be continuous, they should now have we don't have it now. We should now have a clause whereby certain important germane issues should be done by referendum.
But isn't that why there is, sorry, my sister, sorry, isn't that why there is the what do you call it?
The State Houses of Assembly?
No. That doctrine of necessity clause.
No, you see, we cannot. We should not be overflogging that doctrine of necessity. When the doctrine of necessity should not be used to solve all the problems. If there is a challenge, you will look for the solution. We should look for a permanent cure to it. Like in this case now, if you leave the power to the state, they will still abuse it. So now leave the power to the people, whereby the entire Nigerians now, all of us as Nigerians, will go to our various ward and will say, on this issue, should local government have, should states, because it's a constitutional item now, it means we have to now, we are saying putting the cart before the horse. We should now have a clause in our constitution whereby certain issues, it should be a deliberate action, certain issues so that that concerns local government, that a lot of us have lost confidence in the various state houses of assembly, that they will have the independence. I'm telling you, you give them that power, they will not be able, they don't even want to do it because they are being dictated upon. The innocent local government chairman, they've been receiving funds. The fund goes to that joint account. They are members of the joint account, but they just stay there. They're being dictated upon. So the problem will continue unless we have a permanent cure.
Being dictated upon, and then you're saying that power should return to the people with what you're calling for. But I want to find out from Jide Ojo. I asked Ahmed Tanimo earlier about the fact that we may likely see local government chairmen who may want to revolt against state executives, in this case, now that they know they have the powers. But looking at the fact that local government chairmen do not have immunity, and if they are properly oversighted, like you said, by civil society and the media, don't you think that even as it stands, we may be able to see some viable local governments?
Definitely. I'm not pessimistic at all about this Supreme Court decision. What President Tinubu could do as the father of the nation and a former governor himself who understands the issues and a political leader is to, just like he addressed the National Economic Council recently, he's not supposed to be there, but he went there and chaired the meeting, which was constitutionally meant to be chaired by the vice president, and he said, look, governors, I want you to give me blueprint of how you want to solve food security in your state within 1 week. You get? The president can also call for National Council of State meeting and said, look, this is our country, we have no other place. We are talking of insecurity. Insecurity takes place at the grassroots. Most of the banditry takes place at the grassroots. The local government chairperson is helpless because he has no control of funds. He has no control of security. If the governor is even saying that they are just chief security officer by mouth, that power resides in Abuja. So if the president can call his brother governors to a meeting, appeal to them, and get them to be on the same page with him, to reform local government, and let them see the bigger picture, that look, this controlling local government because you want to retain power, as a governor, you cannot be governor for more than 8 years. Maximum 2 terms. So let go. Let there be thriving administration at the local government. They know what to do. Once they remove their hands and allow for free, for instance, return those areas where local government is supposed to get IGR, return it to them. And make sure you oversight the IGR collection so that they don't also collect and keep it in their own personal purse. Because we have seen management of parks, they do ticketing, collect millions, but it never went to the right purse. You understand? I don't want to elucidate too much. You know what happens with the parks, motor parks, gardens, abattoirs,
cemeteries, signages. These are under local government. It's enunciated in the first schedule. So if the governors allow them to manage those things that the constitution has given to them, and also give them their own portion of support, financial, apart from the one from federal. But you see, the question that comes to mind, that rings, is what will the governors do with the LCDAs? Because, like I've pointed out, the functioning of LCDA, so far, what they have been doing to maintain the LCDA is to redistribute funds that comes from federation account into the JAC account and use it. It's like in Lagos now, there are 20 recognized local government, but there are 37 LCDAs. So you redistribute what is meant for 20 local government to 57 places.
The LCDAs don't have a constitutional provision. So when the federal government is ready, it knows how to do.
No. What I'm now saying is that leads us to a question. Would the governors scrap these LCDAs, or would they allow them to leave and use state funds to now get them to function? Or another pathway, as we have been saying, people have been knocking Supreme Court, knocking President Tinubu. Can we also have constitutional alteration and say everything that has to do with local government, remove it. Let every state decide on whether they want a third tier of government or another tier of government, and let them create it and fund it from their own purse. Because as it is, even the local government creation has been lopsided. You have a Kano state with 44 local governments, Lagos with similar population or approximate population having 20 local government. And the Lagos state people felt that they are marginalized, that why should they have 20 local government and Kano will have 44? Meanwhile, they created Jigawa out of Kano. Jigawa still has over 20 local governments.
Today you are taking us into very complex
what
issues.
I'm saying invariably is that if we want to alter the constitution,
yes,
we must be clear with options we want to have. First, we must alter the constitution. If you want to keep state independent electoral commission, you cannot keep them in the way and manner they currently operate. You must guarantee them political, administrative, and financial autonomy. Otherwise, nothing will change. So you will just have these routine, sham, and charade elections that will produce whoever they want to be in local government. But that is even the least of the problem. Like I've said, the governors are in control of local government service commission. They appoint the key staff of local government. The political godfathers that operate at local government, who many of you do not know, the very flamboyant and very powerful traditional rulers who can dictate to the chairman of a council, this is what I want from you. I'm going on this trip, I need 10 million, I need 20 million. And you have to look for the money because it's the traditional ruler, it's a first-class traditional ruler. So all of these things, then the final way to checkmate maladministration at local government is to now get EFCC and ICPC to also get involved, including NFIU, to track the funding and the expenditure, transparency and accountability at that level. Let them come and account. From today going forward, you have received X amount of money. How did you spend it? Can we see your receipt? Can we see your contract papers? How much has been disbursed? How much was spent on overhead? How much was spent on salaries? That way, when they start seeing 1, 2, 3 local government chairperson being sent to jail by EFCC, others will tell the governors.
In fact, now that you have talked about,
I don't want to get into.
Jide, you have talked about EFCC. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jide. But I want to find out from Barrister Oguche if he agrees with your point of, states should create their local governments if they choose. Because another question on the lips of many Nigerians at this point is, even the local government chairmen themselves, like Algon, has come out, instead of asking for these recommendations, asking for amendments, they're asking for increase in allocation.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're asking for. They're not asking for all these other constitutional amendments
that would help them function properly.
So, Barrister Aguche, do you even think that the local governments that are being fought for at the moment are even ready for the change that Nigerians want to see? And of course, react to Jide Ojo's comment about states deciding if they want local governments or not.
I didn't get your question quite clearly.
All right. So I'm sure you heard Jide Ojo when he talked about the fact that some states at the moment feel marginalized. He made mention of Lagos and Kano and the number of local governments they have. And some states, you know, just want some more and some should get less. Now, what do you think about his recommendation that maybe we should just have states determine if they want local governments and then how they want to go about it instead of all this, knowing that, well, the CX and of course all the other constitutional amendments that need to be done for local governments to be effective have not been done yet. And then do you think that Algon, as in local government chairmen themselves, those, you know, who are in the business of local government administration, are even ready for this change that, you know, the federal government is looking at? Because at the moment, they are not asking for these amendments, they're not asking for these recommendations and all of that. What they are looking for is increased allocation.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. One fact you must relate is that the whole essence of the judgment of the Supreme Court is to stop the continuous emasculation of the local government system, and it can be successful depending on how we go about it. Contrary to the position of my friend there in the studio, the doctrine of necessity comes in because the local government system is one that there's no amount of legislation that can be done at the National Assembly that to give it that required something. People are used to, politicians are used to a system whereby they lord themselves over the local governments, and this new structure to them. So they will always find ways. They will always look for loopholes upon by which they will now begin to continue in that subjugation. And that is where the doctrine of necessity comes in, which the president can deploy to put effective measures that will ensure the independence and autonomy of local government area in terms of operations and in terms of appointments and elections. And I think it can be exercisable by the president, even without legislative intervention, even at the face of the judgment of the Supreme Court, construed not just in its letters alone, but also in the spirit by which that judgment or that decision was given. The local government structure we have in this country is lopsided. I agree completely with Jide in the studio. But then it is for then within the ambit of this operational framework for the president to exercise that authority and maybe compel the legislature to put out or formulate the measures upon which local governments can be created in terms of size, in terms of terrain, in terms of viability. These are very, very important areas. The local government cannot be pushed to the states to determine whatever. That's the normal take of things because they exist within states. That authority cannot be given to the states because at the end they will just do nothing but abuse that privilege. I think it's something that should be
we say we're having glitches there with our connection with Barrister Festus Okuche, but we really appreciate his contribution. Let me ask a last question before we quickly round off our conversation, just in a few minutes. And in the absence of a legal enabler, you know, to address all the loopholes that we're able to, you know, identify, it would appear that the ball is now in our courts, in the court of the public, you know, to help, you know, act as a watchdog or checkmate, you know, the implementation of this judgment. So I don't know, Jide and Abubakar, what can we do as a people, the media, the EFCC, the civil society people, what can we do? And mind you, the local government administrators do not have immunity. So they can easily, be prosecuted. So what can we do to ensure that they sit up and do their work under this new, arrangement?
Okay, as someone that have interface with the various security agencies, we now equally need to now flash our lights on the various security agencies, from the police, the FCC, the ICPC. It appears day to day are now towing the Nigerian line of not doing things the way they should be. Because I don't see any reason. I can tell you is on the records. They should even have a dashboard whereby you can see that almost all the local government chairmen, one petition or the other have been written against them by people from those local government, and nothing, most times, nothing. You that wrote the petition, you will not be contacted, you will not be informed that a decision has been taken. You are not seeing them being prosecuted in court. You are entitled to have that belief that the matter has been swept under the carpet. Some will argue that they are overburdened with so much work, but for how long are we going to so now it's not enough to even make reports to the various security agencies. They too need to be oversighted, need to be investigated. That close watch, it's a collective responsibility. Attention now should now be more focused more. If you have a case of a former governor of Kogi State, Abelo, that has been declared wanted, until this moment he has not been, and you know that within them they equally need to improve on that. You need to have the confidence whereby if you write petition, if you engage in whistleblowing, you should not be sanctioned. At the moment, whistleblowers are being sanctioned, whistleblowers are being detained, whistleblowers are being harassed. The people that have written, that have taken the boldness to write series of petitions, nothing has happened.
Of course,
to
it used to be if you see something, say something. Now it is if you say something, you see something.
Yes, yes, we are seeing it. If you say something, you will see so many things. You will see so many things. So people are afraid.
So Jide, I want to find out, what do you think the people can do at this point? Because I'm thinking that if we have people come out for local government elections in the first place, maybe they cannot write results. If we have the people, hold the local government chairman accountable, maybe they cannot, take their allocation and give it to the governors.
Let me say this very quickly. What federal government can do, particularly Office of Accountant General of Nigeria, is that let it publish every amount that is going to all the 768 local government and 6 area councils. Every month.
They are doing it.
No, let it be on
the media.
On the internet.
Yes.
But I used to see it on every 300 million, 400 million.
Access it.
They are doing it.
You know what Gwagwalada local government got, and you can then demand from the governor, from the chairman of Gwagwalada or Abajo or Ahmad, how did you spend this money? So if he says he gave it to the governor, or to the minister, how come? What is the nexus between your work and the minister? So those explanations, disclosure, full disclosure will help the citizen to hold them to account. Media will also be able to do its own watchdog role. But let me land on this very important thought. We may have to consider immunity for the chairman of councils in the constitutional alteration that is envisaged. We also must bring the term of local government to be at par with the other tiers of government. Only Lagos and now FCT has 4-year tenure for their local councils. All the other ones, mostly 3 years, 2 years. But like former chairman of AMAC said last week, what do you do with 2 years? The first year, you are just trying to recover your investment and settle down. Then the second year, already facing the election.
Did you say recover investment?
Well, you didn't say recover investment. You didn't say that. But I'm just saying you are settling down. You are settling down. So you need to bring it. You need to bring the local government to be at par.
That's Jide's own.
My own is
those are your words.
Settle down.
Those are your words.
The first year to settle down, second year to seek re-election. So let it be 4 years for all the 768 local government and 6 area.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Jide Ojo, for your thoughts on the program this morning. We appreciate you for coming. Of course, Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst, we sincerely thank you once again. Of course, Abubakar Ahmedhanu, legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us for the
Thank you for having
conversation.
me.
And we do appreciate Barrister Festus Oguche, constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst, who joined us via Zoom for the conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We hope that the local governments would actually find a sound footing and the people will benefit at the end of the day. And investments will not be...
Well, Jide clarified that. Those are his words. But we also would like to thank everybody. And the conversation on local government autonomy continues. It's not ended. We will, of course, keep our eye on that. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
And I'm Yanwe John. See you tomorrow.